And welcome once again to another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Encyclopedia. We may not be hitting a grand slam, but the real question this week is to yeet or not to yeet? Screw Shakespeare. We're bringing it up to 2024, folks. So I am your host this evening. I am the Encyclopedia, and joining me tonight is the Reverend Jason Todd, representing the good.
Always a pleasure. I think this is how we started. That's how I started on this show, you and me, tackling the big issues. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, we are. And unfortunately, the devil's advocate, will not be with us tonight because apparently there's a lot of evil souls that need to get checked into hell tonight. So, sorry that he won't be able to join us because one of our topics we really wanted his opinion on, so we'll probably get that next week. But leading off, it is that very topic. And this week on Raw, to this, at least my surprise, we had a title change. The Intercontinental title changed hands. Bron Breaker's title reign is over, and the new champion is main event Jey Uso. So, yes. So the two of us eat. I'll be 100% honest. I didn't really get into the yeet until I was at Money in the Bank and I was eating with everybody. And thought I was
it's contagious.
Yeah, and I thought I was recording, and it turned out I wasn't. Yeah. I hate admitting that because I usually don't make stupid mistakes like that, but I did until he was in the ring, and then I realized, oh wait, I never actually hit record. Lovely. But anyway, be that as it may. So yeah, they announced Jey Uso versus Bron Breaker a couple weeks ago, and I personally thought no chance in hell. Bron Breaker, they strapped the rocket ship to him. He's not dropping that title anytime soon. Yeah, it'll be a good match, but Jey Uso is going to lose another title shot. And as the match was going on, Joe Tessitore, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name. I'm still getting used to it.
Tessitore, something.
Tessitore mentioned that this was, I believe it was Jey Uso's 7th opportunity at a singles title. And I was like, huh, why are we mentioning this? I'm not going to get my hopes up. Maybe he wins it at WrestleMania. It's not going to happen quite yet. So lo and behold, he hits a spear. He hits the Uso splash, and Bron kicks out. And I was like, par for the course. And about, I guess, 90 seconds, 2 minutes later, he hits it a second time. After he speared Bron through the barricade, which came right after he super kicked Bron, who was trying to do his 40 mile per hour speed of lightning spear. Yeah, the second time he hit the splash, I was like, oh crap, he's going to do it. And he did it. And I'm going to be honest, not quite on this level, but it reminded me of Brock ending the streak. Obviously, that's not as epic, not even close, but that's how confident I was Braun was retaining. Did not see this coming at all.
Yeah.
Before we talk about whether this was a good move or a bad move, what was your reaction?
I thought it was interesting because I felt like, and this is looking back, I felt like they built the episode around that match, which was kind of cool. Because you mentioned that talking about the 7 attempts for a singles championship, and they planted that early. An early meaning in a 3-hour show means like an hour and a half in. I think that's when it got mentioned. But there were little things along the way, like him running into Sami Zayn, and prepping. And I was like, oh, is the match now? No, it's not now. Another hour passed, and little stuff like that. And I thought that was really cool. Even then, with that build-up, subtle build-up, I didn't expect that win. I was expecting some kind of no contest, honestly. I was like, they're not going to give that away. And yeah, that when he hit that super kick, first of all, I don't know how you time anything with Bron Breaker because he is so fast. Like I was like, the only way you could do that is to kick his head clear off, and that that's the only way I could see it happening. I thought it was a nice match. You know, I thought about it the next day. This is what Bron Breaker does. He wins the title. He surprisingly loses the title once we think he's never going to let go of it, because this is exactly what happened in NXT. And it's to somebody you don't expect to see take the title. And then he comes back stronger along the way and he figures some stuff out. It was just really cool. It was a really cool, nice surprise. Do you think this is the kind of thing that Eric Bischoff would have given away back in the 90s? Is this the ending he would have given away that'll put butts in seats?
Yeah, he would have. I mean, God, Goldberg over Hogan.
Yeah.
Granted, it was Georgia Dome. It wasn't like it was a small crowd, but it was still on Nitro. But
Oh
they were
no, I
also.
mean, do you think this is the spoiler he would have given away? I love Mick
Oh,
Foley.
if it was taped. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was
That's
live.
what I
So.
was thinking of in terms of shock value. Like, oh, you really did this on Raw, because it's rare. You're not gonna change world title. World title, that's not happening anymore these days. But IC title, man, main event. He's truly main event Jey Uso. What more can you ask for? Well, maybe more, but that's enough.
Yeah. I know there's been a lot of speculation. I saw a lot of people on social media saying, "Why would they do this?" A lot of it happy for Jey Uso, but a lot of it saying, "Why would you take the belt off Braun? He's supposed to be your future this quickly." I think the title reign. I'm going to double check this, but I think we were at. Was it maybe?
Maybe
I think
4
it was like
months.
57 days. I think it might have been.
That's a
Uh,
short run. Oh, I thought it was a little longer.
wasn't long. 51 days. It was 51
Okay.
days. Yeah, because they only won it at SummerSlam. Um,
Oh, that's right. Okay.
yeah, so yeah, 51 days. I think that surprised a lot of people. I I don't. I personally think they turned him heel too quickly. It was working. He was getting it over. Um, I know in NXT he was having that run with Corbin towards the end there. His heel run was starting to work there, but on the main roster he was face, and it seemed like just overnight all of a sudden they decided we're going heel with this guy. I felt like um,
I was trying to remember that if he was a face when he came in.
for a little while. It wasn't
For like a
long.
minute, and then it was the you're not giving me the opportunities.
Right. It was after the draft.
Right.
It
Okay.
was after, yeah. So yeah, it was after the draft. He was doing double. I think he was kind of doing double duty. I mean, after his Royal Rumble appearance, they weren't going to be able to keep him off for long. So I
That's true.
I think he could rebound from this. I think he's still young. I don't think he's going away anytime soon. They definitely see him as part of that future. The guy's 26 years old. He
Exactly.
he was weeks old when the screw job happened. For context, so he's turning 28. He's 26, turning 27 at the end of October. So all that being said, I don't think this sets him back too far. I think this is just going to help build him up more and more. I also wonder if it's a lack of main event heels. We have Gunther, and then you correctly pointed out, because I forgot. I don't know how I forgot, but I forgot Drew McIntyre. So I could
Yeah.
see Gunther and Drew McIntyre are your top heels. I like Finn Balor. He's not a top heel right now. You could slot Braun in
Such a
as number
waste.
3, and maybe Braun is not going to be in the Intercontinental title picture. I don't know. Maybe this was just going to be a quick title reign. It was to shock people. I don't know. So I think what I'm curious first to hear from you, and then I got a few other questions around this. Um, do you think this is a bad move?
Oh no. That's the simple answer for it is no. I don't think it's a bad move. I think we've talked about it a lot on this show. You can't keep calling the guy main event if he's not going to be the main event. And in lieu of the world title, the Intercontinental title is the main event of Raw. That's just what it is. And he needs to he's been hovering near that picture for a long time. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a great idea. I think he's put in a lot of time. I mean, and even as a singles competitor, I don't think I saw him as being that much originally when he first got that moniker. I thought it was, oh, okay, this is like part of the storyline. And then once things happen, he'll just sort of fade away or go back to tag team wrestling. But no, Jey Uso has been in that picture, and yeah, he earned that. So I'm all for it. Also, I don't think it's a bad idea because we were kind of spoiled with the Gunther reign. I I'm looking this up. Um, I'm looking at the traditional amount of like Intercontinental title reigns, and the majority of them are under 100 days. You get the rare ones. I think Sami Zayn total reigns and maybe has like 3 reigns as IC champion, and it's still under 200. So I I don't see that as a bad thing. I think that's the title that should be able to change hands at any time, depending on the quality of competition, and it makes it much more interesting to me. So yeah, Ricochet was a Intercontinental Champion. Was he? That doesn't make sense. In 2022,
I don't.
according to this list.
I don't remember. I remember him being U.S. champ because it was AJ Styles.
Oh no, of course he was, because that's who Gunther took it from.
Was
Gunther
it?
beat Ricochet for the Intercontinental Championship. Yeah.
Oh. Oh yeah. You're right. You're right. I'm remembering that now. Good call.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen, it should be battled over frequently, and it should be a rare special occasion when someone holds on to it for an exceptionally long time, and they're gonna figure out stuff to do with Bron Breaker. It's not it's not like suddenly they're going to be like, oh no, we have. I think the days of we have nothing for you are past. So yeah, I'm all for it. Great, it was great. It was a great TV moment. I want to see what happens on Raw next week around that title. I want to see what Bron Breaker does. I want to see what Jey Uso does. So I think it accomplished the job. And we talked about that with fewer days on the road, then we're really concentrating on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Well, TV is important now. All right, go for it. Show me what happens next Monday. I love it. Did you think in retrospect that it was too soon, or like, oh, maybe Jay's not the guy, or any of that stuff, or were you kind of just with it?
I was surprised. I was surprised that they put Bron Breaker in that title picture so quickly. To be honest with you, when he was facing Sammy, I was quoted on the show as saying I thought this was a bad move. Sammy ended the longest Intercontinental title reign of all time, and felt like he needed to hold it longer than 5 months. Or I don't even think it was 5 months. It ended up being 4. Because
Sami Zayn held it for 119 days.
yeah, so barely 4 months.
Yeah.
He didn't even clear 4 months. If you figure 30 days a month. So yeah. Once they put Braun in that picture, I figured it was a matter of time. I know I think all three of us had said Braun wasn't winning it the first time, but we figured it was going to be shenanigans, and it was. Actually, it wasn't.
It wasn't. He beat him straight up.
Sammy beat him clean. That's right, because I theorized. That's right. We had a debate because I theorized it was going to be a DQ or something. So I don't think Braun necessarily needed the title to continue up that trajectory. I maybe they felt like they put him in that picture too quickly, or maybe they felt like we need to get him out of there and start moving him up. We need to move him up even higher now. So I think it's TBD. What comes next? Maybe this ends up being a short title reign. I hope not, but it could be.
Yeah.
The one thing I did think is why couldn't they do this at Bad Blood? I'm going to be honest. I think this match would have been more interesting on a pay-per-view than Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. I mean, in retrospect, Finn Balor has not really done much singles in a while. He's half of the tag team champions again, because he was half of the tag team champions with Damian Priest for a while.
That's true.
So, if anything, Bad Blood, I feel like if anything, Finn Balor needs to win more than Damian Priest, but Damian Priest did kind of take a step back. I got theories about Damian Priest and Finn Balor and all. I actually wouldn't necessarily. This is gonna sound crazy because I know Dominic's in this shark cage at Bad Blood. I wouldn't necessarily have Rhea win the title. I would have her beat Liv so bad that the referee stops the match because Rhea doesn't know when to stop. Like, legit takes it to another level. Maybe weapons.
DQs.
Maybe she beats the crap out of Liv. This is just me fantasy booking. I think it would be really interesting. Damian and Rhea challenging for the tag team belts. We've never seen a mixed tag team championship team.
You know, she's one of those rare talents where, you could see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
especially as many times as you've seen her take out JD McDonough. Like, yeah, you could. It makes it's possible.
I mean, yeah, the feud has been it's Dominic and Liv against Rhea, but in hindsight, I could see it being believable to have a Rhea versus Dominic one-on-one match. I don't think they're going to go there. I think they think it's too risque, and society won't accept it.
Didn't they have Becky Lynch and Dominic go one-on-one?
Probably.
Or am I misremembering what was a promo segment?
I'm Googling it because I think you might be right.
I know she knocked him the F out, but
she knocked him out, but I don't think it was an actual. Yeah, I don't think it was an actual match.
I think not since James Ellsworth or Reggie did they have any actual mixed.
I'm looking. I got a feeling. I'm clicking. Yeah, I'm clicking a YouTube link, and it's literally it's the video game.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's the only way we'll see that.
She punched him. She punched him at one point, but it seems like all the women punch him now.
I think whether or not he even gave her his chin, he was like, "Go on, take your best shot." And she said, "Okay." Yeah. It's an interesting prospect, but then it's that question of because you can't have that as a legit tag team match without someone getting offense in on Rhea.
Mm-hmm.
And are they prepared to do that? Because if you ask all of them to do it, they'll probably be like, yeah, we can work that. But is that something they're prepared to present?
I think you could get away with it until you start strike. I don't even think it's necessarily strikes. I think this is going to sound bizarre. I think kicks would be accepted. I think if you punch her, that's where people are going to be like, no, we're out. So I think if it was straight up, they were doing wrestling moves or power moves, or they don't get any moves in on her. And maybe if they're doing kicks, that's one thing. I think when you actually get to the point of a punch, that's when society's like, yeah, no.
Somebody's going to lay a clothesline in.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's Rhea Ripley, she's gonna be like, "You better hit me with that."
Yeah.
And it would have to be Finn. That makes Finn Balor a much more of a heel in the company if he's the one to actually take her out.
Mm.
But
I'm
then
hoping
it's like, what
this.
do you do after that match?
Yeah. No. Well,
Because
you separate them. Or you have the defend against Dominic and Liv. I don't know.
I feel like this
I'm
would
sure
be a
Rob would say
dark
we should.
time for.
Rob just to tick me off would be like, no, we need to have a mixed tag championship because those trios belts are working real well in AEW.
Okay, you know how I feel about the mixed match challenge. Can't say it, but I enjoyed watching it a
It was
lot.
fun.
It was fun to watch. I could totally watch that
Hmm.
as its own. Like if the storyline creeps over into that, and then that's your final. Totally into it. But yeah, no, I don't think they'll do a mixed championship on TV. For the record, trios belts should be more interesting than they are.
I mean, they do have the storyline where now they're not sure if the third is going to show up.
True.
But,
True.
yeah, we'll get to AEW in a bit.
Yeah.
So I think you had some thoughts about Raw in general.
Yeah, and actually, it's been the last couple of weeks of Raw. I've really enjoyed it, and they've been putting together some really good shows. And we talk about how hard it is to do interesting television for 3 hours, and I thought they've been knocking it out. And going back even to last week, so you've had the promo war between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. I thought CM Punk's promo last week was maybe one of the best of his career, and because it was by virtue of being so different from what you usually hear from him. And even Drew's answer this week was still a really good Drew McIntyre promo. Although it was it didn't quite hit as hard as the Punk one, but it still was pretty good. And that I thought they've been doing. It's interesting how they're building up that match without being in the same ring together. Like, okay, cool. I like that. I love the monster fights, and Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman have delighted me to no end because there has been no winner. There's been no decision. It's just them destroying everything around them, and they even it was really weird. They Pierce suggested the match, and they already had the video ready of of them as kaiju, and I enjoyed that. So yeah, I thought that was fun. Was it last week? Bianca and Io killed it. And then this week they still made Io Sky look strong, and Kyrie came back and she looked pretty strong too. So I'm buying what they're doing, and
They
it's been
they've turned
interesting.
them face.
I don't know if it's purposefully turned them. I think it's
Mhm.
just by virtue of who they've been facing, because there are a lot of heel teams in the women's tag team division. It's
That's the
kind of
truth.
so.
Pure
Um,
Fusion Collective.
God,
Who came up with that name?
not them.
Every time
I
they cut
did.
the promo, I'm just like, I don't get it. I
I
like
did think.
I
I
like two of them. I like Shayna. I like Sonya. I not a fan of Zoe Stark, but I'm just like Pure Fusion Collective. Am I really supposed to? Is that really supposed to strike fear in the women's division? I don't
I
get it.
don't know. The
But
acronyms, maybe if you don't like those, that's that's the fear. It's acronyms I can't handle anymore. I feel like that sometimes. But I did think that Sonya Deville line. I don't know if it was this week or last week. The not a man in here can take us home, and not a woman back
it's
there can
last
take
week.
us out.
It was last week.
Yeah, that was a cold line. I was like, oh,
Well, yeah. Well, the funny thing was the 411 comments about, of course, no guy could take her home. She doesn't swing that way.
well, no, I think that's the That
Yeah,
was
I know.
that was it. Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
none of you care. And
Yeah.
but then they do that, and then you forget about them the next
Mhm.
week. So they still got to work on that a little bit. Like they should be coming out putting on beatdowns on people, but whatever. Um, the New Day storyline, 10 years. They've managed to be the only faction not to split in 10 years, and the only reason you don't see all three of them is because of an injury. Um, there was that update from Big E recently talking about, hey, he gets his scans every so often, and if they tell him during the next one that he can safely do it, it's something he would do. But right now, he's good. But I think to me that's an interesting storyline because they have been the only faction not to split in a violent manner. So I want to see what happens with that. They're clearly building towards something with it. I'm all for it. Um, yeah, I just like what they've been doing with Raw. I think it's been great. And interesting 3 hours is not easy. And it's 2 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row now that I've just watched. I don't know. What do you think about
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that because I think it's I think Raw sucks. No, no, I think it has been pretty entertaining, usually top to bottom. Um, I hope it continues. I think we for years complained about it being 3 hours. We got one more 3 hour Raw, and then it's going to 2 hours for at least 3 months.
it?
Uh, I think that's going to be interesting. And somebody theorized, and I forget who it was, but somebody commented that it might have been Mercedes Monet because she can't keep her mouth shut. As much as I like her, it might. Yeah, I think she said cutting it down to 2 hours means some people are not going to get opportunities now.
Yeah.
I I get what she's saying. I
I mean,
think,
that's the reality of it, though.
yeah, I think what they need to consider the wrestlers. Yes, I get what they're saying, but if you're turning people off because the 3 hours is just too much, and I've noticed the last couple months we have not seen an hour by hour breakdown. At least I haven't come across it. He used to
Yeah.
say, hour one did this, hour two did this, hour three did this, and now it's been the cumulative rating. I've
They run
noticed that.
it. They run it into like the Chiron on the bottom. They'll do like results
No, no,
and
no.
stuff like that.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the hour by hour rating,
Oh, okay, okay.
the number of
Gotcha.
viewers.
Gotcha.
It used to, from hour one to hour two, would drop a little bit. And by hour three, you lost probably a good, I don't know, 25% of the audience. And I thought it was fatigue. Maybe that's not an issue anymore. And then there's all this talk about, look, instead of speculating, folks, nobody knows what's going to happen on Netflix. We've heard 3 hours. We've heard there will be ads. We've also heard that no, it's not necessarily gonna be 3 hours. It's not necessarily gonna be 2 hours. It's gonna be whatever length they need to tell all their stories.
That's an interesting prospect.
I mean, look, if you watch if you watch series, a different series, TV series or limited series on the streaming services, a lot of times the episodes are not the same length.
Hmm.
Prime example, right now, I think they got 2 episodes left of the current season of Only Murders in the Building on Hulu. Those episodes range anywhere between, it looks like, just over a half hour to about 40 minutes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And Game of Thrones, same thing. Game of Thrones, you all remember, it was usually an hour, but as that season 7 became very epic with mini movies, turned a lot of people off in the
Hmm.
direction they went. But yeah, so it's possible that once they hit Netflix, it's going to be, here's what we got planned. Here's what we think it's going to take time wise. Let's go.
It's gonna be interesting if you're like, oh, I got tickets to Raw. Oh, cool. What time will you be back? I don't know.
Yeah. All right. enough on that. So,
I do want to just add one thing. Sorry. As much as
no,
I've liked Raw,
no.
it's true. I'm not sorry. As much as I've enjoyed Raw, I have enjoyed some parts of SmackDown. But that cinematic promo thing they did last week with Cody and Roman was all kinds of awesome in my opinion, and it was like it fit with the Bad Blood advertising almost, but I just enjoyed that. That was just that was like pure bloodline storytelling. The cinema part, it was cool. Just want to throw that out there. I enjoyed it.
That's fair. I feel like all it ended up accomplishing was we're teaming up together, but we're not done.
Yeah.
And we don't have any. And in Roman's case, he has nothing to lose. And I'm just in my mind, I'm saying to myself, what benefit does Cody get out of being involved in this then? Because look,
Cody's interesting like that, though. You wonder sometimes, like, why is he getting involved?
And look, I don't know about you. Somebody telling me, maybe I think they agreed that for at least that night they have each other's back. But when someone's telling me, once it's over, I'm not done with you. At that point, I'm going to be like, you know what? Fuck you. Figure it out yourself. Cody gets nothing out of this.
I was trying to figure this out because if Bloodline is going to continue jumping Cody, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the best case scenario in that is that, okay, the Bloodline will no longer be jumping Cody. Instead, the Bloodline will be jumping Cody. Like, that's the best case scenario out of this, because the Bloodline, it's still...
I don't know.
It's still Roman.
Get Cody another challenger. I mean, look, the hints that Kevin Owens is going to be upset that he didn't team up with Cody, or Cody went to Roman.
I think that's the story, yeah.
And I really hope KO gets another title ring, because I'm starting to question if it's ever going to happen. I know there's talk about his contract being up soon. One thing I got to say about Triple H is, and I think how it ended with Ricochet is proof of that. It's not necessarily going to be a case of we're going to bury you on the way out. I think that perspective has changed, which is probably a good thing. I mean, you got to be careful. You don't want them necessarily going out with a win.
Right. Well, I mean, not everybody's going to get murdered on screen like Ricochet was, but
even still, he gave a thumbs up on the way out.
He did, and the story is from that the door was open. Anytime you want to come back, you're welcome.
Yeah, we're going to keep your wife here, though.
Yeah, which smart.
Hey, I'm going to be honest with you. I think she gets a better pop than Ricochet did in WWE.
I think for a while she was getting a better pop than half that roster.
Yeah. I didn't understand Ricochet as a character. His promos in AEW, I'm like, all right. And he said, he said it that he could have done more in WWE, and he didn't speak up enough. Rob doesn't get Jey Uso, fine. I really never got Ricochet. I think he's where he belongs. I think he's where he belongs. He doesn't sell. He likes to do his flippy shit all the time. Like, okay, you got to get all your shit in. Enjoy yourself in AEW. Because that's where they like to do that stuff.
Yes, I do think this. I do think him in AEW, you're going to see. It's one of those things like when a legit WWE person shows up in another company, you kind of see that influence of them. When I watched the first couple of Ricochet matches, like, oh, he's going at a slower pace than these guys, which was interesting to me. And I want to see if that continues and if it influences them, or if he just kind of loses the plot and says, yeah, whatever, we're flipping. Who cares? Him and Ospreay. I want to see him and Ospreay, but
that should be on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, it should be.
I get that. I get it. I get
Although
it's the fifth it's the fifth
anniversary,
anniversary of Dynamite. Okay, but I honestly I could see them throwing that if there wasn't the fifth anniversary coming up, they're gonna
Oh
do a
no, you
special.
save it for Wrestle Dream then. So
That's
it's a
what I would
Wrestle
have
Dream
done,
match.
but yeah.
And you never know. You could get a no contest, but I don't know if they don't. Someone said Tony Khan builds he books week to week, so you're
I've
not
heard
usually
that.
getting
We
that.
don't know.
I don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels that way, but some of the storylines it doesn't.
Mhm.
Nothing with Hangman Adam Page feels like it's been week to week. So
I think this is where the new head writer changes things. Jen Pepperman, I think her name was.
maybe.
I think it was Jen Pepperman. Jeez, now I'm looking that up. Pep. Jennifer Pepperman. Hey, look at that.
Nice. The gears are turning pretty well up there today.
Oh, that's interesting. She was actually interviewed by Yahoo last month. Well, we missed that story.
Anything interesting come out of that, or maybe we'll
Oh,
take
she was a guest
later.
on. I see. She was a guest on AEW Unrestricted. Yeah, I haven't been listening to that one lately. Oh, look at this big shock! It all started with a conversation with Mercedes.
Hey, if she's bringing in somebody decent, if
Shane,
that helps them,
probably MVP.
MVP was going to pop up somewhere on one way or the other. Can we talk about MVP real quick? Because
Go ahead.
come on, you weren't surprised when he just showed up like he did.
I think we knew it was coming. I didn't necessarily expect it by interrupting Prince Nana.
Of all
It's
people, yeah.
It's intriguing, but I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a bunch of old ex WWE guys as a faction in AEW.
I'm curious, and I don't know if that's what's gonna happen because they got some
We don't.
guys in AEW who would benefit from having him as a mouthpiece.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be that. Maybe Keith Lee finally shows up again. I don't
Something.
know.
I feel like it's an injury thing with him. Something's up with him.
I think so too. Anytime Keith Lee comes up, I just say I hope he's healthy. That's it. Because the guy almost died once. I'm like, I just hope he's healthy. But they got some dudes. They have some like legit dudes that you could put with MVP that you don't have to bring folks over.
Look, if I'm Tony Khan, I ain't signing Lashley.
My only concern with Lashley is ever his health.
I'm not worried
Honestly,
about that.
He's old.
He's old, but he doesn't seem to he might get injured every once in a while, but not that much. I think he's an attraction.
He is.
I say Japan. I don't think he fits in with AEW roster, their creative style. I don't think that's him. And I'll be honest, I think AEW fans would just boo the crap out of him. I mean,
it's really weird though, because he is a freak of nature, Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, he's got no charisma though.
Sometimes you see him do the things like there were little hints of him at his best a few years back. It was like him, and it was probably him and Braun Strowman. Now that I think about it, where they were just throwing each other all over the arena. I think him and Bronson Reed had a little thing going for a bit, and it was interesting to watch because when he's a monster, to me, he's interesting. I liked his TNA run though, and that was different
TNA?
from him being a monster. People watch TNA. Somebody's watching somewhere. I don't know. I don't. I would if I knew what channel it was.
It's on Access, which I don't think anybody gets around here. Look,
nobody streams.
I've had the opportunity to watch TNA. I think I watched the first weekly pay-per-view. That's the only I could honestly say that's the only episode beginning to end I've watched.
Ever in TNA history.
I might have gotten to episode 2. That was it. I've seen clips.
But you mean of like the current TNA?
No. I'm I'm talking every time I turned it on at the wrong time. Like I remember being
So not
over
like
in
the AJ Styles era.
tail end.
Oh wow.
The first
Okay.
time I turned it, I didn't put it on for years, and then I happened to be in England. I'm channel surfing and TNA's on. I'm like, all right, let's see what the big deal is. At the time, Stevie G, former co-host, I think was watching it. And I turn it on, and Kurt Angle's running around backstage in a Speedo. And it turned out, I think it was Samoa Joe stole his bag. And I'm like,
Wait, so you did tune in during the Perk Angle era? And nothing
literally 5 minutes.
nothing did
And
nothing for you.
no, I was like, this is freaking stupid. I'm not watching this. The other time I turn it on, and I can't remember who it was. It was Eric Bischoff, and I forget who was helping him, and they were beating the crap out of his son. And I was like, oh, great. We got nepotism now.
I mean, it's wrestling. It's...
Yeah, I know. But I was like, yeah, I don't care. And I turned it off. Those are the two times. That was it. I look.
You just turned it on the wrong days.
Yeah, that's exactly. I've said that every time I turn it on. I turn it on at the wrong time. Look, I'm a huge fan of. I think it's a looks thing. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a fan of Deonna Purrazzo until she starts talking. I still think her promos need work. That said, I've heard about the amazing work she's done in TNA when she was there. Haven't watched any of it.
You're more of a fan of her as a local talent.
That might be part of it. That might be part of it. And I mean, when I first saw her, she was, and Stevie was with me. It was a Northeast Wrestling show, and she came out wearing the Ferrari outfit, like logo on her gear.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it was almost like she was doing the Guido thing, and I think back then she was still a preschool teacher, like full time, and the wrestling was a side gig. But I remember her. That was the first time I saw her. I mean, frig. I keep passing the Jefferson Diner, which is about 25 minutes from me, and thinking I want to eat there, not because it's a diner and I like diners, but because I know there's a sandwich with her name on it.
How's the sandwich?
I don't know. I haven't gotten it.
So you ate her matches and you didn't even eat the sandwich?
And the sad thing is, I was literally working between two soccer games, and I had an hour plus break between two of them. I literally went to a Dunkin' Donuts, got like an egg wrap and a nice coffee, and I get back on the highway, turned right at the light, and I look to my left, and there's the freaking diner with her sandwich, and I was like, son of a, I just freaking bought lunch already. Yeah, it'll happen.
Sandwich on principle.
It'll happen, and I'm gonna be the dork that's gonna order the sandwich just because it's her name, and I'm gonna freaking tag her on Instagram.
If it's good.
No, I'd still tag her.
Hey, Deonna Purrazzo.
I'm that weird guy that like sends messages of encouragement to random like female wrestlers on Instagram, and I'm like, they probably think I'm a creep, so they're not gonna respond to her. I'm one of the hundreds of messages they get every day. They're not gonna respond. But at least I haven't been one. But at least I'm not one of those people that all of a sudden a screenshot of the conversations on their Instagram post because I've disrespected them because I won't.
Fair.
Some of the stuff, some of them have reposted. Kayla, I think Deanna's done it. There's a few of them that have reposted stuff they've received, and I'm just like, what kind of piece of shit are you? And what kind of loser are you to be sitting at home and sending this stuff to these people and wasting your time? It's like,
yeah.
I just don't get it.
It is a little off. Speaking of Deonna Purrazzo, though, I think I finally understand what a virtuosa is.
Yeah, someone with great technical skill.
Yes, but what her presentation of it is, because she finally gave a promo backstage. I think it was on Collision, and I think she has Taya Valkyrie now.
Page, nobody was watching it.
She has Taya Valkyrie now, so I think she's starting a stable.
They were starting a stable for her. I did hear that.
Yeah, and she gave a promo about the art that she wants to create in the ring, and I was like, this is what you should have been talking about when you first got to the company, because if that's your motivation, I could see how you'd have conflict with people. So I think I finally understand what her character is, and I can't remember who she interrupted in order to deliver this promo. It was maybe Willow Nightingale, and it was when it was, and if you don't want to join me in creating that art, you're against me, and I'm not going to let you stand in my way for that. I was like, oh, you have a character. Let's see how that goes.
You know, it's really funny. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go on the John Report website and I'm gonna read whatever it was she says. If you go the mouse over TV reviews, WWE Raw, WWE SmackDown, WWE NXT, AEW Dynamite, AEW Rampage, TNA Impact, and WWE Network. They don't even have a collision category.
Rampage got in over Collision. Listen, maybe you got something to do on Saturdays.
He doesn't have a ton of time because I know someone else writes those reviews. Oh no, he wrote this week's. Oh, he literally wrote results. Okay, maybe not. Serena Davis and Anna James on the video package. Nigel McGuinness did a promo. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yuka Sasaki, Serena Deeb.
It was pretty decent.
Sure it wasn't on a Rampage?
No, because I haven't watched a Rampage since.
She wasn't on last week's.
I'm pretty sure it was a backstage promo.
I'm not denying that. I'm just telling you. I'm reading through. He basically wrote a quick recap of everything that happened, and I even did a Control F for her or
Well,
Command F.
To be fair, I just happened to catch it. So, like, if you weren't paying attention, you might have missed it, and that's like a lot of Collision. If it's a Saturday, you probably got other things on your mind. So
actually, yeah, what I'm noticing is he missed a lot of weeks too.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a Saturday show.
Yeah, but you used to waste your time with Rampage, although I don't think they've reviewed Rampage in a while either. Yeah, Collision. I'm sorry. The last results he posted was the 14th. He didn't even post last week, so maybe. All right, 411. Here I come.
Yeah, I thought, oh, this is who she is, and I didn't even know if it was a good promo or not. I was just so surprised that it was a promo that explained some things. I was like, this is the equivalent of, and I hadn't thought about it before, but what they were doing with a lot of folks whenever they brought them in and shot them up to the title scene real quick, it was basically DC movies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to give you the Justice League now and then tell you who these guys are later. And that's it. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Well, it's hard to care about Justice League. And I now don't have as much interest in this individual movie. That's it. But yeah.
Might have been a few weeks ago. Yeah, I don't know. When I did.
No, it was definitely recent.
I'm telling you, on the 21st, it says Willow Nightingale will be watching Grand Slam, but Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie show up, saying Nightingale isn't a good friend. Purrazzo offers Yuka Sasaki protection, and we get Nightingale versus Valkyrie for Rampage. And that's
maybe it was I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Whatever. I feel like that had something to do with it, where it was her telling Willow Nightingale if you were really friends, you would be protecting her. You would be in her corner during her title match, which she had on Dynamite this week. So yeah, it had to be last Saturday.
Oh, I'm just telling you what I read.
Hey, they probably forgot because they were shocked as I was, and they said, "Oh, promo, real promo."
Maybe it was. Wait, Deonna cut a promo. We're not even gonna pay attention.
Yeah, because she usually doesn't say anything.
Her promo, yeah, it's unfortunate, but her promos in my mind are weak, and it's kind of sad to say that because I actually think she has the potential. Let's put it that way.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. And usually when she was on the mic, I would tune out. But this one had some. It was Rampage.
It was Rampage.
Was Rampage on Saturday?
It
Or
says
maybe
that.
they were playing a clip from Rampage.
I think it said it was on the 20th.
Okay. There it is. So maybe it must have been a Rampage. Yeah. Oh, I don't remember being home for that.
He
I feel
watched
weird.
Rampage.
Not on purpose.
By the way, I'd like to point out, folks, we said that this was going to probably be a shorter episode, and we're at the 50. We're approaching the 50-minute mark.
We could give the folks a tight 55 right now,
Oh Lord.
but we'd have to talk fast.
Okay. Do you want me to quote what she said? Because I'm playing it now.
Oh, okay.
I came here to make art. Beautiful and violent art. And I made it clear. And I've made it clear I've only just begun. I may have come here alone. But recently I've been reminded I've never truly been alone. Basically cultivated a network of friends and family and associates. People have shown generosity.
Associates.
People willing to repay her generosity with loyalty.
She's the new Dawn of
If you think I'm
AEW.
dangerous, just wait until you see this thing of ours and Taya standing behind her. She still sounds nervous when she cuts promos at times. I'm sorry.
Because she doesn't do it enough. Like, you know what?
She's been
like
doing
what I'm
it.
hoping with Ricochet. Like, I hope they do it to the point where they've done so many that it starts to become regular and they start to understand who they are as a character. Because I feel like she hadn't had to have a character before now. Like a character.
She's been with them for at least we don't. It's been almost 9 months now. She's I'm sorry, at this point she should be better on the mic than she is. This didn't captivate me in my mind.
By what standard are you going? She should be better on the mic by now. Because if you're going by the WWE standard, don't forget those guys do promos like 6 days a week, 7 twice on Sunday.
There's
the
people,
back they work on it.
There's people in. Well, that's a problem. Practice on your own. You're married to a wrestler. Practice on your own. That doesn't hold water with me at this point. You mentioned Ricochet. Ricochet, I will say, is miles ahead of her in the promos based on what he's done in AEW in just a month and a half, or however long he's been in there. I don't think his promos are like, oh my God, these are the promos of the night.
Right.
But they've been way better than what he was doing in WWE, which actually goes against what you just said. You said WWE, they have all this opportunity. They work on promo after promo after promo.
Well, that doesn't mean you see them on TV. What I mean is they work on stuff. They have that opportunity.
If you're cutting a good enough promo backstage, they're putting you on TV in all likelihood.
You know, that's an interesting question.
It's the Triple H era. It's not Vince. Because there's people Triple H right out there at times, and I'm shaking my head like, why would you put this person out here? He gives everybody a shot. And it's not just a one-shot wonder thing with him. Oh. All right. We're even going to talk about Perazo, and look at all the time we gave her.
I know.
Maybe
congratulations.
Maybe I'll head up to that Jefferson Diner this weekend after all.
Yes. Next week, report on that.
I know the big topic right now is the Mr. McMahon Netflix series. So I'm going to tell everybody right now, we are not giving our thoughts on that show. And it's quite simply because it's become clickbait. Every quote Vince has made is a separate article. And look, my hat's off to you. It came out less than 48 hours ago as we're recording this. If you got through all 6 of those episodes, congratulations. Some of us have to work. Some of us actually work during the workday because I'm sure there's one person who's not on tonight, who probably watched it already while he was supposed to be working. I know you're laughing, but it's probably true. The fact of the matter is, look, if you were able to get through all 6 episodes, and since it came out already, my hat's off to you. I'm glad you were able to do that. I chose to watch Dynamite and NXT and Raw first.
Yeah.
I will say, in all likelihood, by next week, I think, and with Rob back, I want to hear his thoughts on it. Because the mixed things I'm reading is in some cases I didn't learn anything new and blah blah blah. From what the clips, not even the clips, the articles I have read, and some of the stuff that Vince has said, I want to see it in context before I comment on it. So
Yeah, I think that's what is missing out there, and I've avoided clicking on a lot of articles for that same reason.
Yeah.
Because I can't. I what's the point of me watching the thing if you're gonna spoon feed me online every single line, every quote?
Yeah, I made the mistake of reading about why he ran this show when Owen Hart passed. And the quote was, I don't know how you justify it. I don't know why you go there. I don't know if it was Netflix chose to go there or he chose to go there. We don't know. What we do know is supposedly he was being interviewed up until the first allegations came out, and he had to resign in, I think, the summer 2022. Then all of a sudden the interview stopped. Well, the footage was already recorded at that point. That's as much as we know. Stories are, Vince, I don't think it was Vince directly, his then PR team, which he switched PR firms. But he put something out that indicated that the documentary basically took his character and tried to insinuate that's what he's like in real life. That could be true. I mean, what do they always say? The characters are usually that person's personality amped up by 10. Maybe it was the other way around in his case. I don't know. I've gotten through the first episode. Like I said, we'll do our review in a week. The other thing is there's a theory or a rumor going around that he tried to buy it before it hit air.
Consider no, we're good.
Yeah. If he's pissed, look, from the first episode, from what I saw, first off, he gets in the first episode, it opens up and he gets in the ring and sits down in a chair, and just him walking over to the chair and just sitting down, he doesn't look all right. In what I saw, I noticed he has an ear clip. He's got a hearing aid of some sort. I believe the Netflix producers have come out and said it was really weird. It was like his team was feeding him facts and history, probably through that earpiece, I'm guessing. Maybe there's some dementia there that we're not aware of.
Maybe he's taking a lot of chair shots too.
Maybe that's going to be his defense in this lawsuit and the federal charges. Watch, I would not be surprised if they claim dementia to try to get him off. I would not be surprised. I mean, right now the problem is
when it's set in.
Yeah, I mean, right now he keeps telling everybody that the allegations are untrue. Well, okay. So if they go with the dementia defense now, then it's too little, too late. They should have started with that. But I don't know. I've read, like I said, I've read that some people have theorized or have said they watched it. There was nothing new there. I beg to differ because Vince, even if it's maybe what's revealed isn't new, but it coming out of Vince McMahon's mouth from his own perspective is.
Yeah, so there's some interesting stuff about that. And when you get to the second episode, they start talking about some things that came up back in the 80s and 90s. And I forgot, like you forget, and it's easy to, that these recent allegations aren't the first allegations that have come up. That this is every decade, basically. There's something. And yeah, if he was being fed lines through an earpiece, there's definitely a point in the second episode where he went off script in regards to one of the allegations. And I won't spoil that for you, but I'll just say you'll know it.
Thank you. I barely started that one. Okay.
Yeah, you'll know it when you get to it, and you'll be like, I wonder if he was supposed to say that. or if he knew the camera was running.
I don't.
So
He probably doesn't. He probably. I'm putting that we cursed up and down because I know I did. I don't think he gives a fuck.
but
I really don't.
Without giving away, that dude has settled a lot. I mean, he's settled a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. You wonder how he ever made it to billionaire, because he was writing checks for a long time.
Well, and there's a theory that a lot of it has to do with sexual abuse in his own life as a child.
Yes.
He also doesn't strike me as the type to admit that that was necessarily the case or go to therapy for it. I don't.
No.
He's one of those people that I think is old school. Therapy is bad. Therapy admits weakness, and that's just not him. So
It's interesting that you say that too, because he kind of talks about, he doesn't talk about before he went to live with his father, but
barely.
it's like there's stuff he doesn't say that makes you feel there's something there, because
There is. Yeah.
and I think there was another documentary that talked a bit more about that aspect of his early childhood.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, of course he's got some unresolved issues, and I'm
Yeah,
sure they
everybody
informed.
does.
Yeah, I'm sure they've informed his actions and alleged actions, but right from wrong.
Yeah. Oh. All right. So I think that's as far as we wanted to go on that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Um. So I think we covered pretty much everything. Did you want to get into Grand Slam?
Just a quick one if you want to talk about what you thought, like just overall.
Um. AEW. I think the problem is it's better, but I wonder if I'm just fatigued, not because the show's long necessarily, because that's not an issue. It's 2 hours or just over. I think I'm fatigued and I'm just over it with AEW in some respects where it just I think they've evolved wrestling to the point where, like, for example, the Young Bucks versus Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay.
Osprey, yeah,
I forget the name of their tag team, United Empire, I think.
I think.
And it's the kicking out of finishers left and right. I mean, God, Bron Breaker did it on Raw, so it's not like it's just a WWE thing. And could have been Shawn Michaels that started it years ago when he was facing Undertaker, which I think back then it wasn't happening often, so it didn't bother me. We're going back to the Hogan era. Hogan was kicking out of everyone's finishers, and that was the character. I and I watched the match, and I didn't sit there. I mean, I was shaking my head, but it wasn't a disgust like, oh God, here we go again. The kicking out of finishers. It's more of finishers are meaninless now in AEW. They're very rarely finish a match. In WWE, a lot of times it's been the same thing. So I'm kind of like, okay, fine. Was it a good show? Yeah, I thought it was a good enough show. Daniel Bryan grabbed the necktie, bringing the necktie in. Throwback to Justin Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
That was funny. I mean, that was done well enough.
I love that it
I
took several people to pull him off
yeah.
of Moxley. So even with what's her name choking the life out of him, he would
Oh,
not let
Marina
go of that tie.
Shafir. Yeah.
Yeah, and he still wouldn't let go
But
of the
that's
tie.
but
I
see,
love
that's where I wish AEW could do better. I think those little details are missing. Like, you're trying to make her a force. When she slapped that thing on, Brian should have been maybe fighting like hell to keep it on, but he should have started also fading. Sell it for her.
I think he
Where's her
was,
role in
but you
this?
saw him
They haven't
cinch up
clarified.
with it, and I think that was okay. Yeah, nobody knows what she. I don't even know if she's just a like a bodyguard or if she's a
I
what.
guess.
I don't
And
know.
and then even Cesaro, or I'm sorry, Cesaro, Claudio Castagnoli and Pac trying to
Hmm.
pull Daniel Bryan off. It took like really three of them to get him off.
I like that though, because it's rare you would see them have trouble physically restraining somebody, and that I think that spoke to how
How
furious.
angry he is.
Yeah, especially considering he just had the match earlier in the
Hmm.
show.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about it.
Yeah. So look, it was a good show. I think for me, what I found more interesting, and I did the research before we came on here. Um, I'm trying. First off, I've asked a couple friends to come join us. Hopefully, they'll be able to come on. They've been to three Grand Slams, so I would love to get that perspective from them as they've attended 2022, 2023, and now 2024. Admittedly, they are thinking about it. Timing wasn't right because that show, it was Dynamite and Collision. That show didn't get out till midnight, from what they were telling me, or later. That's a long night. So all that being said, I'd like to possibly have them on. We'll keep our fingers crossed that we could get that worked out. But be that as it may, what I thought was interesting was 2021 was the first one. There was 20,000 plus. Then it went down to 13,000. Then it went down to 11,000. Then it went down to 8,000. And it didn't even pick it up in the opening match. So they kind of hit it well, I guess. Or I just was so surprised, so interested in trying to watch Nigel versus Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson. In total transparency, I never saw any of the Ring of Honor stuff. I was just curious to see how they did, and I thought it was slow paced at times. All right, they're up in age, I get it, but it was pretty good. Nigel's cursing, there's a lot of bleeping out in that. Um, but one thing I noticed was they did not show, like they had done in the past. They did. This has been a thing on Dynamite for several months now. They didn't show one side of the arena the entire show. So I'm curious what that looked like. The other thing I noticed is, if you remember, I think it was just 2 short years ago at Grand Slam, Soraya debuted, and they had the stage and the ramp, but she came out. And it took me until after the first match to realize, oh shit, the entrance is almost on top of the ring, and it's on the ground level. It actually, it was funny because some angles it looked like they were in a big arena than they were used to, and in some angles it actually looked smaller than what they have had set up recently. Um, it's sad, uh, especially because it's more a question of if the product gets better, they're going to be able to get those fans back. I don't know. There's a lot of and there's a lot of so-called experts, and Eric Bischoff has been one of them, where he said, once you lose that audience, you're not getting them back.
I mean, he famously lost an audience at one
He
point,
would
so
know. He would know.
yeah, he would know. Yeah, it's interesting because I usually, from the fan side, I don't think a lot about two things: ratings or attendance numbers. But attendance numbers are important just from a practical stance. If you can't get people into the arena or the venue, it's going to change the show, especially if you're trying to present it on TV. I don't know what you do in that instance. I mean, in one hand, it's amazing they've been around 5 years. I think that's an excellent sign that they're still around for 5 years. But it's, because one person is willing to put the money in. They got a new TV deal, I think, or we were rumoring that they have
It
this new TV deal.
supposedly, yeah.
Right.
I don't understand what the holdup is.
Um, they have to figure out something in their model to adjust to fewer people and then be ready to grow when when the time comes. I think we've watched a lot of other companies do things the opposite way though. You usually start small. Raw used to be small. It grew to a point where they were in arenas. Then they were in smaller venues again for a while during a downturn in the business. And then now they're doing arena shows. I think you have to grow to that point. If you start, you know, once the newness of something wears off, you're going to get a drop off in fandom. Now, I mean, 50% drop off plus, that's concerning, but you expect a drop off after the newness wears off, but you have to adjust for that. That's why, like, you start small. Um, there aren't as many tickets available. Now more people will want to go. Smaller crowds, but rabid crowds. excited crowds, show that, and maybe more people will want to go. You're seeing NXT now, they're doing, this is a big experiment, really, that they're going to do this Chicago and St. Louis shows, and we'll see how attendance is for those.
There's already been a problem. St. Louis, they moved the location because they weren't selling the way they hoped.
Okay, but you see, that's an adjustment. So there was the problem, but they've made the adjustment, and you don't see AEW making that adjustment. And now they're newer. It's harder to get moved from venue to venue, sure, but they got to do something, because when we went to that Dynamite, was that last year or earlier this year?
That was this year. First one.
This year, we saw that.
Yeah.
And even in comparison to the time we went before,
Mm-hmm.
we saw it was a much smaller crowd. The people there were still into it, but it's just the crowd shrank. And yeah, they got to figure out how to adjust. I don't know how you do that.
I don't either. Other than I think they need to book smaller arenas, but I think their concern is if they do that, it's not going to look as big.
Which is fine. They're not as big, and I think that's the thing. Admit it. You're not as big as WWE. That's not a big deal to say. WWE is the biggest company.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we trying to pretend we're that size?
Yeah.
Nobody goes out trying to pretend they're Disney. Well, okay, in theory, yes. In some ways, they pretend.
I was going to say Illumination Studios tries.
Yeah, but they concentrate on the quality of the thing, of the product. You know what I mean? They don't have the Disney.
Debatable.
They don't have the Disney machine behind them. So there's things they know they can and can't do.
Hey, look, I love the Despicable Me movies, all of them.
Yes.
I don't care what anybody said about them. I know a lot of people crapped on the fourth one, and I'm just like.
But they got to a fourth one.
It was still entertaining. Actually, it's beyond that because they also had the Minions movie.
Right. So.
And there's been spin-off
little
short stories versions. Yeah.
That's what I mean, though. And the idea is, if you don't have that huge machine behind you, you have to make up for it in other ways. Make something memorable. Make sure the quality is there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the crowd size, that's not going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
TNA crowd size back in the day, when it was at its hottest, it's not like they were filling up arenas, like mega arenas or anything. No, it's just they concentrated on their product at the time when it was at its best.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they got to do.
Oh. All right. Two last things I want to cover before we wrap up.
Sure.
First off, and we don't have to do a full-blown card. Saturday night's main event we brought up last week is coming back. What do you book for that first show?
Ooh.
I got a couple ideas, but
I think either Gunther or Cody Rhodes has to defend their title.
Okay.
Gunther defends against a returning Seth Rollins.
Okay.
Cody Rhodes. Well, no, I'm going to take it back. I'm going to take it back. Gunther can't. It has to be Cody Rhodes. The WWE champion has to defend on that episode.
Okay.
And in which case, I don't know who it's against, but it has to be that.
Okay.
And then maybe an IC defense. And no, just one title, WWE Championship, and then maybe a tag match, and maybe one cage match.
One cage match. All right. So I think you have to. This is where I think they goofed in the mid 2000s when they brought it back. I think, especially the fact that they're hinting at, throwback to the 80s in every commercial. I think there's two matches they could go with as the main event. Before I hit those, I agree. I think Jey Uso versus Bron Breaker in a rematch makes sense.
Would be nice.
So I definitely have no problem going with that. If you want to go as far as LA Knight, Logan Paul too, okay, cool with that. I think you're going to have to pull out all the stops for Saturday night's main event return because, for one thing, there's not an. I think if they hold true to last year's schedule after Survivor Series, there's no event until Royal Rumble.
Right.
So this should be your pay-per-view quality show. Maybe in your house style, but I think there's two options as your biggest match that should main event. Both of them involve Roman Reigns in my mind.
Okay.
Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. Save it for then. Or Roman Cody 3.
Ooh.
And that screams to throwback to Hogan Andre too. On the main event.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be one of those. You need to make this as big as possible.
Cody Roman 3. That's a big deal. That's a.
Yeah, and I don't think people are necessarily going to go into a stadium for that one again, but on Saturday night's main event.
That would be, and that makes the show special.
Mm-hmm.
Like then, because I think the model is going to be it's that rare episode. It's going to be rare episodes of Saturday night's main event. Yeah, I could get with that. I mean, I won't be mad.
Yeah.
We're there. I'm not going to be mad at that match.
Yeah, I mean, if they decided to hold off Gunther Sammy that long, fine. But I don't think they're going to. I am going to give my theory on this on Gunther and Sammy though. I think, and I'm going to double check here because hopefully I'm right. I don't think you do Gunther versus Sammy at Bad Blood.
No, that's Survivor Series.
Huh?
That's a Survivor Series match to me.
No, Survivor Series they usually do champion versus champion.
Have they done that the last couple of years?
Yeah.
It's just been War Games.
You don't get a title defense. Let's put it that way. I think I wouldn't bother for Bad Blood. I would keep this thing going for maybe at Bad Blood they have a confrontation, but that's as far as I bring it. I think you're saving it for Crown Jewel, November 2nd.
Ah, yes. I forgot about Crown Jewel.
And you know that crowd. It took a while to get Sammy over there, but once he was there, that crowd goes crazy for him.
That's true.
But it's also a crowd that if Sammy didn't win, and we know Sammy's not going to win it.
Right.
But if Sammy didn't win, I don't think that's a crowd that goes hostile. Not necessarily that they would at Atlanta, but when Gunther came out in ring gear and said, "I think Ontario, California is the place for this," and then he said, and the answer is no again. I was like, what? Like I realized when he said that, I was like, yeah, he's going to say no again. I mean, there's all these theories that why hasn't Pierce
forced it?
Yeah, and I think he might have referenced it this week, but I let Gunther say no up until Bad Blood, and then Pierce can come out and be like, I've had enough of this. You will defend it against Sammy, and it will be a crown jewel. And maybe that's why maybe they shouldn't do it at Bad Blood because that crowd might turn. But yeah, I would say at that point I would save it for Bad Blood.
Okay.
Maybe give Cody the night off for once then.
Does he need another defense in between? Because I feel like he's due for another defense.
I think the problem is that every 30 days thing was thrown out years ago when they started doing those title reigns where guys wouldn't show up for months. Like, I think Brock really kind of set that standard.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see them setting it up for that. You know, it's a lot because also I think Gunther has to beat him clean.
Mm-hmm.
Because up until now, I believe Sami Zayn is the only person he's faced who he has not beaten clean.
I thought he defeated him earlier in the title reign.
He defeated him. Did not beat him clean, however. And it was I think it was like 2 or 3 people interfering in that match.
That's well and good, and I could see Gunther winning it by that again because Gunther doesn't seem to give a crap how he wins.
He doesn't, but I think Sammy wants to give him that clean win.
He might want to.
Even in the lead up to WrestleMania, I know there was a lot of people who were like, "Well, it should be Chad Gable. It should be someone else." I was like, "But Gunther already beat Chad Gable clean,
Right.
but he hadn't beat Sammy clean."
Yeah.
But now that would be like, okay, now Gunther's ascension. There's nobody else, and then you bring back whoever, maybe Seth Rollins.
You're dying to see that one.
I think it's a fair one to watch.
You could
because he hasn't faced him.
You could do Priest Gunther too. Priest didn't lose that belt clean.
No, he did not, and I would not be mad at seeing them go again. I was very pleased with that match.
It's ironic that one of his finishing moves he's used or setup moves is the Razor's Edge, because I feel like he's slowly but surely getting into that Razor Ramon territory. It's there for the picking. I hope it works out for him. Look, I'm not necessarily a huge Damian Priest fan, but I feel like he's getting enough of a reaction where it was almost like this title reign. You know, he won it, and technically he was a heel at the time he cashed in, even though the fans went nuts for it. And I think they were listening to the fans and were like, this guy's getting over as a face. Not that the storyline wasn't already planned to go in that direction, but I think the fans really helped it. All right. One last thing before we wrap this up. And we don't have to get into deep conversation, but I've been thinking about going to WrestleMania. That the same people that I mentioned might come on to give us, Grand Slam, what it was like in person for attending 3 of these things. They asked me about WrestleMania several months ago, and I got to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm 100% in. I wanted to go to Philly, didn't have anyone to go with, didn't want to go alone, but they were like, yeah, why don't we do Vegas? And I was like, up until Toronto, I'd never traveled for anything longer than 2 hours to get to a show. Like, I've hit Hartford, I've hit New York City, I've hit Jersey, I've hit Philly. That's it. Now I crossed Toronto off the list, so I was like, I'm in. And then earlier today, SummerSlam at MetLife, the first 2-night SummerSlam, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I'll potentially end up doing both, but I was like, part of my interest in WrestleMania was like, I had never been that huge a John Cena fan, but over the years I started respecting him more and more, and I was like, all right, I want to see him on the end of this tour. So I was like, last WrestleMania? Okay. But he still got another 8-9 months to go at that point. Last SummerSlam. Interesting.
It's intriguing.
Yeah, I was already talking to one friend who you've met, Joe, and he was like, yeah, we should do it. Oh, wait, you're going to want to go both nights if you're doing it, aren't you?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably. I also said to him, he goes, because I'm only a night two person. I was like, okay, it doesn't necessarily mean I need to buy both seats for the same 2 nights. I could end up getting separate seats because I got a feeling he's not going to be the only one.
2 nights of SummerSlam, man. That sounds.
I mean, here's the thing.
It's right there.
Right. It's an hour. On a good day, it's just about an hour drive for me, and I could go home and sleep. Or I take a nap in the car until the parking lot empties out afterwards, and then I drive home. Because I've done 2 WrestleManias there. You've all heard the story about 29. Referee finishes the 3 count. Rob and I ran out of that stadium, and we were home while people were still filing out of that parking lot. And the next one took our sweet ass time getting to the car. I know which way to go out to not end up on Route 3 of the Turnpike entrance. That helped a little bit. It was still a while, but
2 nights right in the backyard, right? Our own backyard.
Actually, what sucked for you is there's no direct mass transit way there. You would have to switch to get a train to MetLife.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
It's annoying though. You got to switch to Secaucus. It's a pain in the butt. I commuted through Secaucus for a good year or so before I moved to Jersey. So hopefully, at least WWE won't make the mistake they did with 29, where they forgot to tell NJ Transit what time the show was ending, so there were new trains.
Damn. Yeah, I'm sure they won't make that mistake again.
No, but that's like Saturday night's main event. Yeah, that show probably ends by 10 or 11. I am not relying on mass transit.
No.
Because for me, it would be LIRR to the NJ Transit. I'll never get home.
That's fair.
Because, yeah, NJ Transit from New York Penn runs, I think, and it would be local, it would probably be an hour and a half. And I'm assuming from Nassau to New York Penn would probably take about an hour. So, no. I could drive it in less time.
Fair. So it seems like you'll be attending 2 of the big 4 in the calendar year of 2025.
Potentially. I ain't going to Indianapolis for the Royal Rumble, that's for sure.
There's no reason to ever go to Indianapolis.
Although
Indiana.
They're supposedly going to get a WrestleMania.
Well, then I hope the people there enjoy it, because there's no reason to go to Indiana ever.
Yeah, I mean, that stadium looks cool and all, but yeah, I'm not interested.
Yeah, no.
That wasn't on my list.
No.
Chicago, I would do it.
Yes.
I'd be
heartbeat.
This is going to sound bizarre. I would be more likely to go to Minneapolis before I'd go to Indianapolis. I don't know why.
To Minneapolis?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm sure, Prince is from there. They got Kevin Garnett, I think. Yeah, I don't know. They gotta have something else. Targets out there.
Ooh. If baseball was playing at that point, yeah. I'm not going to go to the Fan Fest. I'm going to go to Target Field.
Yes, I would go. I would go if it was like the ALCS and the Yankees were playing. I would go. I would consider it.
That's the only way, huh? Got it.
Yeah.
I would go. I mean, if I was in that area, I would just go to see a game. I would going to see a game there. Although I would do that with most cities that have a major league team. Yeah, because I got to up my game. I've been to City. I've been to both. I've been to Shea. I've been to both Yankee stadiums. I've been to Wrigley. I've been to Rogers Center. That's it. I've driven by Citizens Bank dozens of times. Haven't gotten in there.
I still maintain Fenway is a pretty nice park to watch.
That's been on my list, and I've come close a few times, and I just haven't. I've actually never spent any. I haven't been in Boston. I've never been in Boston, surprisingly. So one day, hopefully soon.
If they would just lift Fenway out of the city and put it somewhere else, I would probably go more often.
It's honestly, I think it's an East Coast, West Coast thing for me. Never been to Boston, never been to LA, but I'm dying to go to both.
Definitely.
And on that note, I'm sure you're dying for me to end this episode. So. All right. Yeah, so much for keeping this under an hour. We're approaching an hour and a half, so let's cut this off now. Check us out. We are on Sports Frenzy Pod on Twitter, the Sports Frenzy Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Search for it if you can't find it. Don't forget OTBS. Freddie, who in our chat, where Stevie G, former host, let us know SummerSlam was coming, and he said, "Oh snap." My exact reaction to him back was, "Who are you kidding? You're not going." And he didn't even try to deny the fact. He didn't even try to deny it. He owned it. So good for him. Check him out on OTBS. I know he's been interviewing some coaches in the local football world. So very interesting stuff going on over there. Also, don't forget our friends at Another Wrestling Podcast. I know there's been a suggestion by them to do a collab. Maybe we'll get to that one day, hopefully. But check them all out. There's plenty of content out there. We thank you guys for listening. Come back next week. We will give our reviews of the Mr. McMahon series, as well as our picks for Bad Blood.
All right.
All right. So have a great weekend, all. Peace.
Tight 90 minutes.